everyone. This is Corine La Font, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how we do it here on Between the Lines, always with gratitude, or some people say thankfulness. I am thankful to be above ground. I always say that. Yeah, we're into a new year, so happy new year to everyone. Yes, I haven't seen everyone since last month. So happy new year to everyone. I wish everyone, all what they desire, they deserve and more. Yes, good health, whatever it is you need. Yeah, riches, a new guy, whatever it is, a new woman, let's not go there today. I have with me a new guy on my show, Oscar Rivas. I hope I pronounced his name properly. Yes?
That's perfect. Yes.
Thank you. So that's a tick for me in the new year. So I have with me Oscar, and we are going to be talking about why authenticity. But before we go into that, I see somebody's already commenting. What's going on? Let's see what's going on here, Oscar. Oh, Charlene is saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, sweetie. Yay. Thank you for being here. And to all the persons who would be watching, listening right now with us, feel free to jump in and ask your questions as we go along. I'm going to feature them just like how I feature this for Charlene on the screen. And you can ask Oscar any question pertaining to the topic live. You'll get your responses live. If you have a question for me, hey, feel free to ask. So here we go. So I'm going to tell you a bit about Oscar. Let me see if I could find his bio. Quick. And tell you a bit about him. So Oscar says, this is what he says, right? So we're going to know if it's true or not by the end of this episode. So Oscar says he guides parents to nurture authenticity through skills and insights into mindset, emotions, and relationships to discover harmony and resilience. After his wife's loss, he's here to share powerful tools and lessons that he has learned. And you know how we do it here on Between the Lines. I normally feature my guest website at the end so that you know how to connect with them, how to reach out. If you want to probably buy their books, some of my guests may have books or they may have a program or a course or something free to give away. Yeah, you can always connect with them and build a relationship with them. Charlene is saying, thank you. Thank you to you too, my darling. So, Oscar, welcome to Between the Lines.
Corrine, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for this opportunity and for you having me on your show. I'm excited to hear what you're going to ask.
Me too. Me too. I'm excited to hear what I'm going to ask. So, so here's what we're starting with first. So, authenticity has been a rumor. I'm going to call it a rumor spreading around, right? It's been a rumor spreading around for some time about being authentic. Why aren't you authentic? Or even some people don't even want you to be authentic, Oscar. I think that's really the thing for me, that we want to spend a little time on. What is this thing called authenticity? Yeah, why are you perpetuating or pushing or feeling so passionate about being authentic, and especially when it comes to parenting? So let's start with, what is authenticity to you?
To me, that's a great question. To me, authenticity really comes down to um, a process of learning about self.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a child, we would play around, we would be mean and sometimes nice and sprinkle in some good fun here and there. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember this statement that I used to say a lot or hear a lot as well, when
Mm-hmm.
someone would do something or say something, and then I would say, they're so fake, right? And and I remember saying that a lot when I was, young. And so that really is where it all started, right? As I
Mm-hmm.
got older, had some life experience and started to realize like, wow, this is interesting how life works.
Mm-hmm.
And it caused me to reflect through the challenges that I've lived through and through the
Mm-hmm.
relationships that I've had. It caused me to reflect like, what is authenticity and is it important
Mm-hmm.
and why? And I've been learning over time and working with people that authenticity is, again, a process of learning about self. And
Mm-hmm.
then um, putting that self out into the world. And that's the challenge, right? You learn some things about yourself and you're like, "Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
don't like that about me," or "I do like it
Mm-hmm.
about me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm going to put it out into the world."
Mm-hmm.
And it's become a theme for me that I'm really passionate about because it leads to an umbrella of a healing and living life and thriving. And so, Gabor Mate is someone who I follow, who I
Mm-hmm.
admire for his dedication to the work in trauma, and
Mm-hmm.
he speaks to authenticity quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to butcher this, but his words are a lot more eloquent. He speaks to the idea of like we have many needs, but there are two basic needs that he
Mm-hmm.
focuses on.
Mm-hmm.
One is to attach,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a need that we have as human beings. And then the other one is to be authentic,
Mm-hmm.
autonomous, to be ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And in our infancy, we begin to forego our authenticity for
Mm-hmm.
attachment. And
Hmm.
so we begin to add on layers and layers of attachment and fulfilling that need, sometimes healthy, sometimes unhealthy, but we forego the authenticity. So by the time we're at a certain age where we start struggling with either stress, relationships, addictions, um, it really stems from the umbrella of I'm not being my true self. And when I am, the world doesn't like it. So let me just hide. And that's tiring for the soul. It's taxing on the
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm passionate about it. And then now that leads into like parenting, right? How
Mm-hmm.
how does that look not only as a parent, but
Mm-hmm.
then how do I help my children, right? When they say things in front of people and you're like, don't talk like that. And it's like, well, what am I doing? It's like, am I
Yeah.
letting them be
Mm-hmm.
their true selves?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I not? And it's a very interesting dynamic. So I love this idea of diving into supporting parents in that journey.
You said so many things. I hope I could remember to call them out. But let me tell you what resonates. Yeah, let me tell you what resonates with me from what I recall. I'm hearing vulnerability. Putting yourself out in the world is what you mentioned. That means being vulnerable. It's like being naked. It's like deciding I'm going to take all my clothes off, which is what it is. I'm going to take all
Mhm.
my clothes off and walk out there. I don't care if I have lumps, cellulites, you know, sagging, whatever, marks, bruises. I am going to put myself out there and I don't care who says what says who, because the people who are criticizing or even commenting also have those lumps and scars and bruises, and it might not be in the same spot, but they have it. And
Mhm.
so you go through this thing of who am I really fooling in terms of being authentic? Who am I fooling? Is it really more myself? Am I pretending? Is it a facade? How long can I keep up with this facade? Because you can't. Your default will always try, to me, from my experience, push through, no matter what the circumstances are. It can't help itself. It has to come out. You can try to tame it and keep it down, but there comes a point where the real you steps out. And I say that even for even work settings. There are people who put on this air about themselves. This is who I am, what and what. But deep down, after you take off the layers, as you call it, the onion layers, they're really just a regular, just like anybody else, human being that has blood running through their veins, have tears in their eyes, and feel pain as everybody else, and want the same things as you want, to have those relationships, to have those healthy attachments, to be seen and accepted for who they are. Just basic. Not the car, not the house, not the job, not the title, not the status, not, you just want that basic thing. I will never forget. I mean, I watched something the other day on YouTube with this very popular guy who's a singer and artist. Um, and he shared his life a bit, and what he's going through. And I watched this man cry. This is a big man, international artist, and you would think, my goodness, But he cried, and he was like a baby. He was a man. He looked like a man, but he became a baby in the hands of his when he found out who his father was. He had this.
Mm.
He had this thought. This is who he thought his father was because they had done, his mother told him, of course she lied to him all these years. This man is 40 something years, probably in his 50s, I think. So for all his life she lied to him, and he did a follow-up test, not only once but twice, on some other guy that he suspected, after he
Mm.
dug and dug, and he realized this guy says, and he was like a baby in this man's arms, because that deep connectivity, that deep desire he had and wanting, just to know, just to close that little hole in him, to bring that sort of closure, to heal, because you mentioned healing and trauma
Mhm.
is was something for him. So I'm saying to myself, look at that. We look like big people, adults. We are grown because we were built this way. And like I always say to a good friend of mine, God made it in such a way that if we were to grow according to our mindset, we would still probably be a little pleb, or a little a little nucleus. We mightn't grow according, because some of us are still held back at that stage that we can't go past. But he made it in such a way that we still grow, we still develop and whatever, but we still have those little things that
Mhm.
are eating away at us, and we become babies, which is really what we are. We are really, to me, babies, and babies are vulnerable in the arms of people and other human beings. Yeah? What are your thoughts
Yeah.
about that?
Well, no, I completely agree. It's something that's touched upon quite a bit here and there. It's when individuals, when we're infants, we fulfill those two needs,
Mhm.
authenticity and attachment, right? When we're scared,
Mhm.
we go to the parent because that's whoever that parent is, the caregiver.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when we are being authentic, we don't care. I mean, we're just like, oh, you're ugly, right? When you're an infant, like, you try to feed an infant something and they don't want it, they'll slap you off, like they'll say, like, no, this is me.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing to be able to understand
Mhm.
that there are so many needs that are necessary to be fulfilled,
Mhm.
but we don't pay attention over time because we begin to become overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And the idea of somebody becoming vulnerable in their adult life is so beautiful to see,
It
right?
is.
Right? And if you
It
see it
is.
over and over again, then you're kind of wondering, like, what's this vulnerability about? And so you begin to there's a balance to all these things in a
Yeah.
harmonious way of how we function as human beings. And it goes deeper too. Authenticity, I identify it as a process
Mhm.
of knowing thyself, because a lot of people, they say, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I hear that so many times. I used to say it like when I was a teenager, right? I was a
We
punk with
all
some
do.
attitude.
We
And
all
I was
do.
like, well, this is me, teacher. You like it or you don't. It's your problem. And the thing about the human design is that we have a lot of mechanisms
Mhm.
within us, and we don't understand them all. This one is one that I think is needs to be highlighted in
Mhm.
our lives
Mhm.
nowadays. Um, for many reasons, but the attachment concept is a need.
Mhm.
How we attach is very
Mhm.
unique to each individual. How
Mhm.
intense that attachment is very unique to each individual. We attach to people, and here's the interesting thing is we also attach to concepts and ideas, right? Then those things become our identity.
Oh
And
yes.
that's the problem with authenticity and how people describe it nowadays. It's just figuring out who you are.
Mhm.
No, it's learning how you function,
Yes.
right? Who you've become, and then deciding who you want to become. Because we're not
Awesome.
meant to be stagnant, right? So a lot
Awesome.
of people will say, like, well, this is me. And then years down the line, it's the same person. And then what's wrong? Oh my gosh, I'm just struggling with this and that. I don't want to change.
Yeah.
Change is
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
But they're stuck in this idea of, in the clinic when I facilitate hundreds of groups with, people that are struggling with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a large population that's starting to filter in to this process of mental health, and they're taking
Mm-hmm.
care of themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of career individuals saying, like, I've been a director, CEO, whatever, my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I am anymore, right?
Exactly.
So the attachment, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
attachment was very strong and intense to this identity of I'm a
Mm-hmm.
career person, but authenticity is not identity.
Yeah.
Authenticity is like learning, what am I? What am I doing? How do I function? How do I think? How are my feelings? What are those signals telling me? And then figuring out, is this what I want to be? And then
Yeah.
who do I become?
You
And
know,
so it
yes.
goes deep.
Yeah. 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 Oh, yes. Well, self-awareness is deep. Self-awareness is
Hmm.
deep. And I say to people, I said, listen, we're an adult now, right? And no matter what age you are, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. Once you're above the ground, you have the time. And I say to people, just like how you say, it's a journey, it's a process. Enjoy it. It's discovering yourself. It's learning each and every inch of not only the external, but more than ever the internal. And it's about letting go. It's about
Hmm.
undoing what you have been taught. It's about questioning what you have been taught. Remember, when we come into this world, we don't know anything. We are depending on the first set of people that we see, our parents. Then, of course, the school, the teachers, and everybody else influences who you have become to a certain point. So it's a shedding of everything. I know that may sound scary to people listening, but you have to do it. And I say you have to because, and I'm saying it because it's not a choice. If you really want, to me, from my experience, become an authentic person, to know who you really are, what you stand for, what your boundaries are, what you're willing to accept, not accept, allow, give permission to, that type of thing. To do that, you have to undo everything. It's like a blank slate. And it means also in going forward, questioning. So you don't just take things and just pile it in and accept. And as Oscar says, to to accept and take on as your identity. No. If something is bothering you, or like we say, triggering you, because triggers happen to us every day. Somebody might say something and it's like, it disturbs you. You mightn't say anything to the person, or you mightn't show, automatically, probably, but you know it bothers you. You need to ask yourself, why is this bothering me? Why? And dig deep to find out why. What is the cause for it bothering you? Because you just can't act off the handle, just react like that. Well, you could, because you're human, and in that moment you could, and that's fine. But you really need to dig deep to find out why. And that in itself, to me, from my own experience, has helped me to understand myself. We talk about self-awareness, understand myself even more, to know I shouldn't allow that to bother me, or it linked back to something from my childhood, obviously, that I was taught, that I was told,
Hmm.
that led me to start to be bothered by this. Because let me tell you something, Oscar. In this world that we're in, we're not supposed to be bothered by every and anything. We're not supposed
Yep.
to be everything somebody tell us, we jump off the handle. Oh, Oscar, why did you say that? Oh, Sharon, why did you say? My God, what a life. You would constantly be angry, building up hate, resentment, distrust. You're not a nice person. And then you wonder why people don't want to hang around you. Nobody wants to be on the team with you. Nobody wants to sit with you on the bus. Nobody, you know,
Right,
and
exactly.
you're just an angry person. And you're like, it's a collection of all these things that you just take on and feel, yes, it's you. Yeah, somebody's
Hmm.
asking a question here. Martin, Mario, sorry, I renamed you Mario. My apologies, darling. Mario, thank you for listening, honey. He's asking, what would that include something like marriage? Lord, let me leave that to Oscar. Oscar, go there.
Yeah, oh my gosh, about marriage, we can spend we can actually have a degree in marriage. But yeah, definitely 100%. It really applies in all relationships, in all
Mhm.
relationships you're going to attach. right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a conscious attachment, and sometimes it's a subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught in science, and we learn that there's evidence that, more than 95% of what we do
Mm-hmm.
is because of our subconscious, right?
Yes.
So our conscious mind is really does very little to how we're doing things on a day to day. And so when it comes to relationships,
Mm-hmm.
there's a level of conditioning that has already happened throughout your life about certain concepts and ideas and beliefs and things. So in your marriage, that person, you subconsciously identify that person as like, hey, this person makes sense to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we attach, and then there's a significant amount of attachment,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know that we're foregoing a lot of authenticity. We don't understand how we function, and there's a thing that I'm going to throw in here real quick is connection, right? People confuse connection with attachment. They're different
Mm-hmm.
things. Attachment is a very it's like a people pleaser. I need this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because and then I'll struggle, I'll be sad, I'll be lonely or whatever that case is. Connection is what are the momentary, right, instance, what are the moments that we're creating over and over again that lead
Mm-hmm.
to, right, these attachments and relationships. So in a marriage, to try to make this concise, a lot of individuals forego their authenticity. And when they do present themselves in an authentic way, it's
Yeah.
shut down very quickly because it's scary in that dynamic, that interaction.
Yes. Yeah.
And so the individual then struggles, right? Well, I love this person, but they no longer understand me.
Hmm.
You've never presented yourself in such a way, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
in the beginning you were trying to impress the individual
Of
because you wanted to
course.
attach. So you already let go of your authentic self because you
You
wanted to
lied.
attach,
Oscar, you
right?
lied. You
Right,
lied.
right.
You
And
lied
then you
about
just
who you
layer it.
are. Yeah.
You layer it, and then after some years, your body is physically going to tell you this doesn't work.
It ain't working. Put
You
a
gotta
stop to
tell them,
it.
right? And then you
Mhm.
tell them, and then that's when the conflict begins. Well, we're falling out of love. They don't understand me. They're ignoring me, and that's not true. The truth is, we haven't been ourselves to a
From the
full extent from the
beginning.
beginning.
From the
And so,
beginning.
when two people realize that in a marriage, when they both realize it, because it's not a one-sided thing, it's a both thing. When they
Yeah.
both realize it and they start to do the work individually, there's like the most beautiful interaction in the universe that I've experienced personally and that I've seen others experience. It's pretty incredible.
Awesome. Awesome. I hope that helps to answer your question, Mario. And I see you're a licensed family and marriage practitioner. So I know you're just trying to, test out our knowledge here, and that's okay. We're with you. We're with you. So thank you so much for that question, Mario. And I see we are coming up to the top of the time. We're supposed to be spending 30 minutes here. And I did say to Oscar, if he gets me upset, I may go over if he gets me upset. Because this is a topic that it really needs to delve into more, and 30 minutes really cannot do it true justice. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg. But he's right. And if I could just touch on the question that Mario asked, and let me just pull it back up here again, would that include something like marriage? Um, Anything that's dealing with, he's saying not at all testing you. You're such a sweetheart. Thank you, my darling. Right. It's relationships, just like how Oscar says. It's relationships. And once you're dealing with another human being, and I would say to anybody, and I'm sure you have heard this before, get to know who you are before you connect yourself with somebody else. Although, and when I say connect yourself or even attach, get into a relationship, and especially a lifelong relationship, which is marriage. You may not get to know everything, and I don't have a point in which to tell you at this point, this is the point that you should step into marriage. You would know when that time comes and you feel, yeah, you're comfortable enough to be able to be vulnerable, expose yourself, be comfortable with you before you can get into a marriage or even a committed relationship with somebody. Because I am seeing, and I'm sure Oscar is seeing, and even Mario is seeing, so many divorces are taking place for nonsense. I call it nonsense because people are just not taking the time. People are hiding who they are, which is why for me, if I'm single, if I'm getting into a relationship with somebody, I tell them straight up, I'm crazy. I'm not, I'm not even holding back. I'm crazy. So I'm just telling you straight up, I'm crazy. Okay. So then, anything that comes after that is like, oh, she's not that bad. She's not that crazy. But, but I tell you, I'm crazy. So straight off the bat, this is what it is. But you mentioned something, and I want to touch on it before I show people your website. In marriages, we do feel, and this is programming from childhood and society and church and culture and everything, we do give up ourselves for the person and we lose parts of ourselves for the person because this is what we have been programmed to do. We are not supposed to do this. We are supposed to be that. We are supposed to be this way, as opposed to being who we truly are. Because you really want to be in a relationship, Oscar, with somebody who accepts you for you. That if you dig your nose in public, it's nothing because they're used to you with that. If you decide to scratch your butt, whatever, it's fine. It should be it. That person just knows, hey, that's Corine or that's Oscar. All these little things is what makes the joy in the relationship. That's just who you are. But we give up ourselves, and we not only give up ourselves in marriages, we do it at work, we do it with any sort of relation, even relationships with ourselves. We sacrifice things so as not to put forward a particular image and be truly authentic and vulnerable to the world. So we hide things about ourselves. But there's so much freedom, and you could tell me yes or no to this, and I think you hinted at it. There's so much freedom when you actually are able to be yourself to the world. Tell me.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so there are many definitions to a lot of these concepts, right? In relationship and the human design and everything. And one of my favorite definitions that has just come to me is freedom is really learning how to let go, like you said earlier, right? And detach is true
Mm-hmm.
freedom. And not just detach from everything, but detach from the things that are not serving you in your growth, in your thriving, in your experience of being balanced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because relationships bring great things, and even challenging relationships, they can, if you have the skills and the knowledge to process.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging relationships can make you a great individual and then eventually make that relationship great. Um, but yeah, definitely what people refer to as freedom. I was asked, because we all need help, right? And I've gotten coached for a little over a year, and it was an amazing experience, and I can't wait to get back to it. But one of the first questions that I was asked was, what is freedom to you? And my assignment was to just type away, as much as I wanted to describe
Mm-hmm.
that. And it's really started. This is interesting. I did this for an hour. It really started as freedom to me is to be financially stable enough to be able to do the work that I love, but to leave it when I want to and do, things of pleasure of like, traveling and, trying new foods in different countries. So it went from that to like, oh my gosh, freedom to me is detaching myself from this idea that I can't make it in the real world, right?
Yeah.
From this belief, detaching myself from this belief that I will not be able to have a, healthy physical activity routine because I don't have time, right? And so there was a lot of things I found myself that I was attached to in this process, in this assignment, that I realized, wow, freedom is your ability to look inward, detach from things that don't serve you, and then attach
Mm-hmm.
your things that serve you. But that attachment is only going to last as long as you want it to last. So you are, right, the director of your life, not the watcher of it. You're directing your life. So
Yeah.
that there's a lot of value in this idea of understanding what freedom really means deep down inside.
I like how you share that exercise. You notice how we start off, and I say we because this is typically the first thing on our minds: finances. I want to be financially free. Right? Because we think freedom is always attached to money. But freedom is not attached to money, because even if you didn't have money, you think you wouldn't be free. There are people who don't have any money at all. And they are the most, I don't know if this is a word, freest person in the world. They have, well, one, they have nothing to worry about. Nobody's going to come knocking on their door to pay the bill, or you owe this or anything like that. And even if they did, they didn't have any money to pay it anyway. So why worry? So worry is clearly out the door. You know,
Hmm.
it is about they wake up in the morning, they start appreciating the birds, the bees, the wind, the sunlight on their skin, the smile that they get from somebody and who they give it to. These are the things that really start mattering. Waking up, actually waking up the next day, each day waking up and appreciating being above ground. That is what matters. you know
Yep.
Not the money. So when you actually, anybody doing an exercise, and I mean, you all are professionals, and I say you all, to also even include Mario and persons listening to this, professionals, we always start off with that thing, and that is the deprogramming taking place there, starting with the things that society always expects us to say, what everybody expects us to say, what everybody always wants of us. And then we come down to the things that really really matter, just really really matter. That is such a profound exercise. I have your website up, and you see I kept it on the page with the
Mm.
testimonials, but I want you to just tell me, guide me here in terms of, is there anything you want me to feature on your page? It is connectlifecoaching.com. If persons
Mhm.
are to contact you, they can do so by, of course, clicking the contact button. I saw a subscribe to your, I guess you have a newsletter, I suppose. Or is it
Mhm.
your blog? Is it
It's
a
just a it's
newsletter?
just a blog, yeah. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple of tabs that one of them is active in a webinar that's free. And
Okay.
then the other one I haven't set the dates for. It's
Mm-hmm.
for group work, right? So
Okay.
individuals that find like they have some common challenges, and then I'll be doing some group work eventually.
All
I
right.
do it now independently as a contractor
Mm-hmm.
for mental health clinics, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this for different communities, right? The parenting community, the
Awesome.
healthcare community. But yeah, the website is mainly just an introduction that I'll be
Mm-hmm.
building off of as I continue. All of last year, I've done this work for quite a few years now, and
Mm-hmm.
all of last year was really just nailing down what I wanted to focus on and how I wanted to serve the world. And this is just the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it. And so, yeah, the I think the webinar would be a great thing. The coaching webinar would be a great thing to join. There's a free download on how to build healthy connections. So that one's
Tell me where to find that. Where do I find it? And where do I find the
I,
webinar? Could people register for it on your website?
yes, they could register it. They'll get a link to the
Where?
to the webinar, and so they can register on there.
Wait,
There's, I
which
think,
tab?
I think the
Is
third
this
tab
is
where it
it
says
is it the
attachments.
coaching attachments, or is it integrative facilitation? Let's see. Yes.
So
Save
that
my
one's the
spot, a
one that,
free webinar.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. If you go to the coaching tab, that's where they could register
Okay, let's have a
at the
look.
top. Yeah.
Okay, a free webinar on the process of living authentically. You have to take your
Hmm.
time when you're saying that word, authentically. Okay. So, yes, you have to take your time. Slow down. That's another thing I'm learning in life. Slow down. People only think when you get older is when you get slow. No, no, no. Start slowing down, people. And I don't mean
Hmm.
to say, you know, act like if you're old and start walking. No, but when you slow down, you're able to see, even if physically you're walking, take your time. Why are you rushing? What is the
Hmm.
rush? Take the time to see people, to to see. Oh, I'm seeing that I'm not showing the page. Is it showing up there? Let me just see once. Oh, yes, it's now coming up on the page. Yeah. Oh, it's flashing in and out. What's happening there? Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I see it's coming and going. I don't know why, but all right. Yeah, but just take the time. Just take the time to really appreciate life and appreciate the people in your space and appreciate you. You slow down, you're able to smell things, see things that you never saw before. Stop and say, I never noticed the store was here. Since when the store is here? And go into the store and see what they have and taste what they have and talk to the owners or the whoever, just slow down, people.
Hmm. Right.
You know, slow
Slow down.
down. Slow down. It doesn't mean to say you're old. And even if somebody call you old, say thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you just slow down. Yeah, it helps. And it helps with self-awareness too, because that's all part of self-awareness. I see Mario is saying something here. I've learned a little from Oscar, just a little. Just a little. Thank you so much, Mario. You're such a darling. He said he's learned a little. So I hope this episode has been beneficial to all of you who have been listening, watching. There are persons who will be watching the replay. I hope it will benefit you. Feel free to still leave your comments, questions. We could still answer them because this is streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we could still answer them, both myself and Mario. So you can still engage with us even after the live. Oscar, any final words before you go?
My final words is authenticity is not a destination. It's a
Mm-hmm.
process. And you choose who you want to be. You have the power to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say if you're not intentionally doing that with some guidance, you're performing. And performance is tiring. It's very tiring to your system, and it tells you there's something wrong and you can't pinpoint it. A lot of times it's because you're performing throughout your life in every area of your life. They
Mm-hmm.
pay actors in their performance millions of dollars
I
to
was
do what
just
they
thinking
do.
that.
And
Yeah.
there's no coincidence to that, right? Because
Yes.
it's a challenge to portray a
Mm.
character with such great skill. And if you're doing that throughout your life, you're not getting paid the $1 million to to perform, right? But your body's absorbing all of that weight,
All of
and
it.
it becomes bad for your system.
You
So,
can't
you
tell
know,
where you begin and where you end. Isn't that
hmm,
something? And
yeah,
that even happens to actors and actresses, Oscar. They cannot even tell the difference in themselves anymore. They don't know who they are. They
right.
are the characters that they play, which is why,
Mm.
at one point in my life, can I tell you a secret? Don't tell anybody. Mario, don't tell anybody. But listen, at one point, I'm not even going to talk too loud. At one point in my life, I wanted to be an actress, and even a model and all of that.
Mm.
The TV thing, grew up in the era with the TV thing. And I'm like, wow, isn't that awesome? You get to be on TV, everybody see you, you get how much money and everything. And then I'm like, as you get older, you get a little wiser and you realize, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. No, I need to know who I am when I step out of that character because I might still be behaving the same. Not might, I'm sure I would. For all you know, I
Yeah.
might be on a date with Oscar. And next thing you know, I break out into a character from one of my movies and tell him the same lines and the same script.
Right?
Yeah, I might just break out into that. I'll be like, this seems familiar. Okay, this was in the movie XYZ. I'm going to break out and, just automatically without thinking. Damn, that would not be good at all on my date with Oscar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's funny because people break into character every day of their lives with
Can
the
you
people they interact
imagine?
with. And
Jeez,
that is so tiring,
it
and
is.
it's very impactful. Actors have
Mm-hmm.
these challenges. There's a kind of work that they do when you actually speak to someone who is in that world, right? They'll tell you like, hey, it's not the prettiest thing, and it's very taxing on the body. We do that every day. They do it
I
for like
do.
months for a production, but we do it every
Yes.
day,
Of
every
their,
day.
oh my, and they get Academy Awards and all sorts of awards for that.
Yes. And we get
Right.
disliked and like your cooking is horrible. We get all that stuff.
That's the awards we get. That's the
Yeah.
awards we get. Yeah. But I prefer to be authentic. And one of the things I like when people say to me, Corine, you wouldn't change. I'm like, hell no. Hell no. You know, normally people will, if people say that to you, you'll be like, gosh, you know, I really should change. I should do something. No, I don't want to change. I take it as a compliment. Corine, why you wouldn't change? No, no. I am quite happy with the way I am.
And there it is.
Yes. So when people tell you, Oscar, why you wouldn't change? Why you wouldn't change? Grow up. No. Tell them no. I'm quite happy. Thank you so much for that compliment. They'll be like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Oscar, this has been fun. Mario, and who else has been here with us? Was it Jennifer and Charlene? Thank you so much for joining us. And for all those who will be watching the replay, thank you so much. Feel free to connect with Oscar. You have seen his website. Is it connectlifecoaching.com? Yes, I think it was. Thank you so much, Oscar, for taking the chance to spend time with this crazy woman on Between the Lines. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Corine. It's been a pleasure as well.